There are so many rules of golf, it can be hard to know where to start. So let's run through 7 really important rules that can help get you started. Now, first things first, when you start your round, there's one thing that's really important. Make sure you identify your golf ball to your partners. Now, this tailor-made picks is pretty obvious. If you have something plainer, it's a good idea to put a little Sharpie mark on it, maybe your initials or some dots. So if you and your playing partner both hit your ball in the same place, you know which one's yours. It also means if you hit the ball into the rubbish or the rough and you need to identify it, it's going to be really clear that you've got the right golf ball and you're not going to get any penalty shots from hitting the wrong ball. Now, when we get on the first tee, it's fairly obvious we need to play in between these 2 markers, but an important thing to note is that you shouldn't tee off in front of them. So you are allowed 2 club lengths back in distance to tee off within, but you can't go in front of this line. So when you're teeing off, make sure you're in between the markers and also in line or slightly behind them. Now, when you get up to the green, there's a few things you can do to help you score. One of them is to clean the golf ball and make sure there's no mud on it so it rolls truer. The other is to line up with the arrow or any line you draw on the ball so you can get a better target line and aim more at the hole. Now, it's important if you're going to do this that you mark your ball before you pick it up. If you don't do that, you will incur penalty strokes. Now, it's really easy. You don't even have to have a proper marker. You can use anything, a 5p, a T-peg, and then you can go ahead, clean your ball, line it up, and make that next shot a little bit easier. Easy par. It can be quite frustrating when you get yourself in an unplayable position. Now, there's a few options you can take from here. If you want to take a penalty drop, you can do within 2 club lengths. But in this situation, 2 club lengths is not going to get me out and I'm still not going to be able to swing. Now, I could also go back in line, taking the line of the pin and the ball. But if I did that in this scenario, I'd be dropping in a water hazard, which clearly isn't ideal. So what I would do here is I would take stroke and distance. What that means is I can pick this ball up, go back to the tee and re-hit my shot under penalty. So once I've hit the next shot off the tee, that will class as 3 off the tee and then I will be back in play. Now, you can do this in any situation. If I'd hit this from the fairway, I can simply go back and replay this shot from the fairway. Likewise, if I was in something like heather and didn't think I could get the ball out, again, I could go back to where I was before and replay my shot, even though statistically I would have had a chance of hitting it out. So if you're ever in a circumstance where you feel like you're not going to be able to get the ball back out in play and it's going to take you lots of shots to get back to the fairway, take stroke and distance, go back to where you hit the original shot from and try again. Oh. Not sure I'm ever going to see that again. Now, if you think you've lost a ball, there's a few different things you can do. First off, one thing you can't do is declare a ball lost. But what you can do if you really don't want to play it is hit another from the tee. So if you think, I'm never going to see that again, it's in a horrible bush, I really don't want to look, what you can do is tee up another golf ball and just hit it. Then you're back in play and that ball is classed as number 3. The first one's gone, you've pulled it back under penalty, so your next shot is your 3rd shot, and you carry on from there. Now, if you think you might find that ball again and you have a chance of getting it out, the best thing to do is declare a provisional. So you say, I'm hitting a provisional, and then tee off again. This means if you find your first ball, the provisional doesn't count, you simply pick it up and carry on with your first golf ball. Now, if you hit a provisional and then go up and find your first golf ball, you can't then play a provisional just because it's in a nicer place. Once you've declared you're hitting a provisional, if you find your first ball, the first ball is in play, providing you find it within that 3-minute search time. Remember, if you do find that first ball and it is in a horrendous position, you can always take that stroke and distance and come back to the tee and replay it if it is really awful. If you've hit your ball in a penalty area, you've got a few options. You can actually play it out as it lies. and recent changes to the rules mean you can actually move any objects that may be in the way. You can also take practice swings in the hazard, and then simply play your shot out as normal. Now, if this was full of water and you didn't quite fancy it, there's a few other things you can do. First off, you can take stroke and distance. So you can go back to where you played the original shot from and replay from there. That would obviously be under penalty. So if you were here in 2, go back, drop for 3, your next shot you are hitting your 4th. Now you can also take back on the line relief. What that means is you take the last point where your ball crossed the hazard before it went in, and you use that as a reference point in line with the pin. You can then go back on that line as far as you want, drop another ball from knee height, and then that ball is in play and you can go ahead and hit. Let's not forget my T-peg. If you've hit your ball offline and you're not really sure where it is, you are allowed allocated time to search for a golf ball. Now this has recently changed and been reduced down to 3 minutes. So that means you have 3 minutes to look around and try and find your ball. Now if you don't find it in that time, you either have to go and hit the provisional that you've already hit off the tee, or go back to the tee and replay under 3 off the tee rule. Now obviously when you're playing in club comps, you kind of need to time that yourself because there's no one around. But if you're playing in bigger competitions, there would be referees on hand to time that 3 minutes for you. Oh, luckily I found it. Not sure I like the next shot though. Now we've covered in which direction you can take a drop, but not really how you actually take the drop. Now this scenario is a little bit easier because my ball is just on the edge of this gorse bush. Clearly I have no swing, so I'm going to take 2 club lengths. I've got my driver because you use the longest club in your bag except your putter to mark this. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and mark where that golf ball is now. From there I'm going to measure my 2 club lengths, but making sure that I don't bring the golf ball any nearer to the pin. So as the flag is that way, this means I need to move this way. Now this is 2 club lengths from the ball, not 2 club lengths from your nearest point of relief. So it's just tough luck if it doesn't quite get you all the way out to where you'd have a full swing. Now once I've marked that 2 club lengths, I can drop anywhere within this zone, and I can also have a 1 club radius backwards. Now before I drop, it's a really good tip to move any loose impediments down here that I don't really want my golf ball to end up on. Once we've got that, try and find the place that's going to be the best for you to hit your shot from. I'm going to go ahead and get the ball and drop this from knee height. Now that's perfect, but what if it had bounced outside of the 2 club lengths? All you do is pick it up and drop again. If it bounces out again, you then place it on the area of grass that it first landed when you dropped it. Simple. Now do remember, this is a penalty drop. You're not getting to drop for free because this is a bush. So if you've driven into this bush, you've dropped for 2, your next shot you're now hitting 3. If, however, say this was a bench or a sign, you might actually get free relief. It's usually written on the rules on the back of the scorecard which circumstances you get free relief, and then you could drop without penalty. The difference there is that it's not just 2 club lengths. You take your nearest point of relief and then you get your club length. So that takes you fully away from the hazard, because that is usually an artificial item that's been put on the golf course and not a bush, and it's just tough luck if you've made the mistake of hitting it in here.